Welcome to Age, Pension, Super and Retirement. I am your host Yvonne, and as always, this podcast is information only and never personal advice. In today's episode, we will be looking at conditions of release, and I'm delighted to welcome back the Director of Prosperity Planning Partners, Gayle Mckew.
Hello again.
Gayle, can I just jump in with what is preservation age?
This is a depends one. I remember starting out as a financial planner and everyone, as soon as they hit 55, come in and they're like, I'm 55, I want access to my super. And it's changed. It's no longer 55. It's now for anyone born between 1960, 1st of July 1960 and the 30th of June 1964. It was tiered. And so I'm a 1962 model. For me, it was 58. So for anyone born after the 30th of June 1964, preservation age is currently 60.
That's really helpful, and thanks for explaining that it was a little different at different times. Gayle, I'm curious, could you explain the eligibility or conditions of release to start an account-based pension?
In a previous episode, I mentioned a transition to retirement income stream. You can create one as long as you have met your preservation age. So, for example, anyone born after 1964 would be 60. But that's a limited condition of release. It doesn't give you full access. Other full access conditions of release would be something like having reached your preservation age, which would be 60, and retiring. And the retiring part is that you have, at the time you complete that application to transition your account from accumulation into an account-based pension, that you have no intention to work more than 10 hours per week in the future. I've got some clients who are like that and they do not work any more than 10 hours a week. But you will hear people say, oh, just sign that form, and then they go back to work in, say, 3 or 6 months full time. It's a bit cheeky, but it has been done. For somebody who is over 60 and they cease an employment arrangement on or after age 60. So I have got some clients and they literally have 2 jobs. One is self-employment and the other one is a contract that they've done regularly for quite a number of years. And their intention is when they get to 60 that they will cease the contract work and then they will have triggered a condition of release which allows them to access their super if they wish to. It doesn't mean they have to, but if they wish to. Or if you've turned 65, you can still be working full time. You can do whatever you like technically if you are 65. And the other one is, sadly, if somebody has passed away, it becomes a death benefit payment at that point.
Thank you so much, Gayle. Now, this has prompted my mind to ask questions. Is there a case where people genuinely think that they're not going to be employed again and then are in a position to go back to work? My question is, can they then turn that off and on again and off and on again?
Well, they can, but why would you? Because effectively, if you have an account-based pension, it's a zero tax rate on earnings inside the pension fund. And then it's also a tax-free income stream to the pensioner. So effectively, you can have your cake and eat it too. But if you go back to work, your future contributions that go to an accumulation account would be preserved until you trigger another condition of release.
That's really helpful, Gayle. Now, just again, something that you touched on, if someone's, say, 61 or 62 and they've got a full-time job and they take a second part-time job, is leaving that second part-time job actually allowing them to meet a condition of release?
Under the law, yes, because it's having ceased gainful employment, or if you are over 60 and you're fully stopping. But if you are over 60, you can, it clearly states, ceases an employment arrangement on or after the age of 60. Now, I'm actually reading off the tax office website. So I reckon they're in charge of this preservation and conditions of release. And literally it states on there, common conditions of release, it ceases an employment arrangement on or after the age of 60.
And could this even be casual work?
Yes, it can be.
So that's just a really helpful fact to know if somebody was, wanting to turn their pension phase on, but they didn't want to give up their full-time job.
Correct.
Gayle, if someone wanted to reach you, how could they?
By email at Gayle, Gayle, at prosperityplanning.com.au, or by phone on 0407 159 298.
Now, just looking at some couples with a significant age gap, would someone be able to defer ticking the box and releasing their superannuation due to something around the Centrelink rules? If you could just unpack that one for us.
Okay, so when I was married, there was a 12-year difference in our ages, and we would have hidden quite a bit, if we were still together, quite a bit of my ex-husband's money in my name, simply because it's a long time before I was going to reach pension age. But due to our asset position, neither of us are ever going to get an age pension. But if I was being technical, anyone who is under pension age, which is currently 67, if they have money in superannuation and it is in accumulation phase, Centrelink acknowledge it, but they cannot assess it. If you've got, say, a 67-year-old, I'm going to say female, and a 62-year-old male, other than her being a cougar, his super doesn't count. Because if it's still in accumulation phase, it is not something that can be assessed for the purposes of age pension. However, if it was in her name and even still in accumulation or an account-based pension, because she's already met the age of 67, which is the age where Centrelink can assess everything, then it would be assessed and deemed. It would be assessed under the asset test and deemed under the income test.
That sounds like a really helpful strategy to know about. Can I also ask, would there ever be a reason why someone would do the reverse, as in put it in the older partner's name?
Sometimes it's control. I'm sorry, but it is. Some people like to make sure that they have control of the cash flow. And to be absolutely honest, the only reason that I could see if you were reliant on Centrelink to have money in the older person's name would be that you were willing to give up maximising your Centrelink benefits.
That's so interesting. It's something that's really good to know about. And what sort of age gap would you say? 12 is a good amount of years. You wouldn't do it for someone who was within 18 months, or is there a number?
No, you can still do that. It's still helpful, because basically what it does is if the money is in the younger person's name, it effectively buys you a little bit more time to receive some higher benefits from Centrelink. It's nothing illegal about that. It's just a case of, where is the money? Can it be assessed? Yes, it can. This is what your pension is. No, it can't be. Oh, your pension's a bit more. Other things that you can do to maximise Centrelink payments, there are some strategies that planners use that can have concessional treatments for asset and income assessment by Centrelink. So sometimes I see in our group people go, why would I have an annuity? And it's sometimes simply to get you under the upper limits so that you actually become eligible for some entitlements versus not being eligible.
That's so helpful. One more question, Gayle. If someone had their superannuation in pension phase and they did pass away and their partner's under 60, how's that treated?
Each fund has a different set of rules. It depends on whether there's a reversionary in place. So a reversionary beneficiary is different to a binding nomination that we talked about in our previous episode. A reversionary beneficiary is basically saying to the trustees, you have to pay this person my income stream moving forward. If they're under 60, they would pay some degree of tax, because it depends on what the components are inside that, because there's different treatments. Remembering me saying before that tax-free income over age of 60 is part of an account-based pension. But if you're under 60, then you do have some tax payable, but you also get some tax offsets depending upon the structure.
That's so interesting. And for everyone at home, that was a question without notice. So thank you so much for that there, Gayle.
You're welcome.
For our international listeners wishing to join our Facebook group, the code word is ORANGE. And as always, this has been information only and not personal advice. Thank you so much, Gayle.
You're more than welcome. I look forward to our next chat.
As do I. Bye for now, everyone.